What often destroys relationships but is hardly talked about? Outside noise from society, family, friends.
Never being completely honest just because you want to spare your partner's feelings.
Invalidating your partner's feelings.
Infatuation. On both sides, you should observe and note a person's negative or dangerous and destructive traits before you comment. But most just say, "But I love everything about him or her," with blind infatuation, and years later those traits or habits become nightmarish and cause fights and anxiety. I heard a rabbi once say, "When you are dating or living together you should have two eyes, one green to see the good and one red eye to see bad." Once you marry, the two eyes are supposed to be green, meaning you should be committed to seeing positive no matter what. A disabled or sick child.
I think people don't put sufficient importance on protecting the boundaries and intimacy of relationships. It should be a space for the two of you, where you feel safe, loved, and valued. That means not telling other people all the gory details because you're breaking a boundary and that ruins part of the intimacy. It means keeping some people's opinions and general presence out because it's just the two of you. It means protecting certain actions, forms of intimacy, not just sex, and privacy of the other person, so it can be boundaried and safe. There are so many ways that people violate this or don't protect it sufficiently, but they ultimately amount to the same thing. Your relationship is only for and about the both of you, and you should save more than just sex for the exclusive things that you only do together. Lack of communication.
Probably an unpopular opinion, but trying to stay the same whether it's wants, needs, goals, or expectations. I think sometimes people forget that we grow, so things change, but that doesn't mean you can't grow together. Why tread water when you can swim to the shore as a unit?
Uneven distribution of household or child-rearing labor.
Difference in sex drive. Overstepping boundaries of control. You're both adults, so be sure to watch out for one party trying to control the other. There are some things you need to compromise on, but your partner should not make you feel like you have to bury or abandon something that's important to you or brings you joy. My ex-husband hated coffee and didn't like cheese, so he'd give me shit when I'd buy a 2 coffee every now and then. He'd also call any cheese that wasn't Kraft Singles, stupid cheese. Like that was his name for it. Everyone is entitled to his or her opinion, but they should learn how to let stuff go. Now that I'm divorced, I get coffee whenever I want, and I have a whole crisper drawer just dedicated to cheeses.
Blame. The single best predictor of relationship failure is the frequency of blaming language. Blame is absolutely poisonous to relationships. Approach problems from a problem-solving mindset, not a blame-assigning one, if you want your relationship to last.
Lack of effort and lack of appreciation.
Money. Lack thereof. Disagreements on spending. One person resenting the other making more. One person spending anyway without consulting the other. Money isn't the root of evil, but it sure as hell can be the cause of your breakup. I think lack of communication is a big relationship destroyer. People don't talk about their issues and let resentment build up until it's too late. It's important to talk openly and honestly with your partner to avoid misunderstandings and prevent problems from escalating. I'm not sure about the internet. For example, my ex long-distance BF was really against me playing video games unless it's with him. I do enjoy playing games in 240 FPS in BlueStacks. It makes me laugh and enjoy myself. But whenever he saw it while we were in a video call, we literally had those going 247, so it's not like I prioritized games over talking to him. He kept blaming me for having fun with others, even though I told him it's just video games and I don't even talk to people there. Lack of arguing. Holding in feelings creates resentment towards your partner. Arguing without losing control of your emotions and being civil is a really important skill to develop. One common factor that often destroys relationships but is hardly talked about is emotional neglect. When one or both partners fail to meet each other's emotional needs, it can lead to feelings of loneliness, resentment, and disconnection. This could happen due to a lack of communication, emotional intimacy, or physical intimacy. Emotional neglect can cause damage to the relationship over time and can lead to conflicts, misunderstandings, and even breakups. It is important for partners to openly communicate and work towards meeting each other's emotional needs to maintain a healthy and happy relationship. Not doing things as a couple, communicating, not letting your children be the boss, being alcoholics, drug addicts, money. Literally everything wasn't talked about.
Empathy and understanding for each other. Relationships take work. Mismatched attachment types. Avoidance can feel cruel to anxious or securely attached people. Healthy interactions can feel exhausting to avoidant types, or suspicious to the disorganized or anxious ones. Knowing how to work with these differences is fundamental in making adult relationships succeed.
Potentially politics.
Lack of common fucking courtesy. You drop the please and thank yous. You talk to your spouse in a way you'd never speak to your best friend. You complain behind their back. In a friendship you'd be toxic, but this is just the way people see marriage.
Mama's boys' moms too involved in relationship are jealous of their son's significant other. Controversial but religion.
Complaining. Not being appreciated.
Not being able to communicate openly.
Distrust. If you don't feel you can trust your friend, spouse, or family member, it's much more difficult to keep a relationship with them.
Not enough independence. I've seen this happen to a couple friends. They fall madly in love and spend every moment together. Eventually that just leads to resentment. You need to be your own person within a relationship and not just give up on the pursuit of goals, self-actualization because you're part of a relationship. Lack of regular good sex, mutual attraction between both parties.
Not being able to have arguments, be uncomfortable, cool off in a healthy way. If all arguments turn to fights, it won't last.
Not having your own personality or life outside of the relationship.
Holding issues on credit. What I mean by this is if you've a problem with something your spouse does, rather than talk it out right then and there, you hold on to it to use as ammunition for a later fight.
Lack of respect for one another and an inability to compromise. Pride. Some pride is necessary, but it honestly doesn't have much place in a healthy long-term relationship. We should always think about what we've done wrong in an argument before focusing on what we think our partner has done wrong. And don't embarrass or correct your partner's words or behaviors in public. Save that for private. Be a united front in public out of respect. You aren't always right, and it goes back to the mutual respect thing. It also helps keep outside opinions and influence from entering your relationship. Communicate your boundaries. Don't just get upset and sulk around because they should have known. Just some things I've learned being married, or witnessed others doing that I think are harmful.
Phone. Social media. I find it so depressing seeing a couple out for a meal together at a nice place and both are glued to their phones, not talking at all. But their Instagrams will show they're having a blast.
Children in general. I'm sure there's plenty of joys that come with raising a child, especially a healthy one. But it seems that nearly every childless couple I know is happier than ones that have children. I know it's a relatively small sample size, but it just further convinces me to not have kids.
Complacency. It's so easy to look past everything you do for a significant other and what they do for you. Currently going through a breakup, and while my life has changed a little, I'm still basically the same. My ex-partner, however, is having a super hard time because they never really noticed how much I did for them so they could focus on themselves. I feel bad because I miss their company, but I can tell they miss my service.
A cancer diagnosis. Men are 6 times more likely to leave their partners after a cancer diagnosis than women, though. An unequal power dynamic. That can play out as one person not doing their share of domestic and emotional labor, or unequal decision-making around money.
Dead bedrooms. Financial issues. General incompatibility.
Differing core moral values that couples compromise on at first but then end up tearing them apart. could be religion, politics, etc. So many people want to say that those things aren't the reason for breakups, but our core values are the hardest things to change about ourselves. It's not disagreeing on what we like on our pizza, it's disagreeing about the things most important to us. Lack of libido. People often don't discuss it, and instead talk about tolerance for being ace or how the person with the higher libido is supposed to support their partner at their own expense. If the person with the lower libido throws their weight around to get their way, the relationship always sours.